shut this off. This is strictly adults today. We're going to talk about habits that hurt your sex life. Okay, we're trying. It's Valentine's week, and it's going to be February, and so we want to talk about these things because this is a topic that affects everyone, but very few people talk about it. And we're going to talk about the things you're doing that are ruining it, and then things you can do to fix it, of course, too. If you're new to the show, what we do today is I speak for 24 minutes. Whatever platform you're on, we stream this on a bunch of different platforms. You can write in any health questions you might have. Not necessarily about sex, anything, though. It could be about sex, could be about anything. And I'll answer your questions, then I'll talk for another 24 minutes, and then I'll answer questions again. So that's how it's done. And I'm glad you're here. Please share this with everyone in your group right now because this is a very important topic. If you're listening live, please put in hashtag live right now. If you're listening on a replay, put in hashtag replay. And right now it's 1 o'clock Eastern Time, February 5th, 2024. So if you're listening live, you know you're live. And if it's not, you'll know it's a replay then. And please share this with everyone because this is a very important topic. It's not just about sex. It's about your health and what these signs and symptoms mean. So, gentlemen, I am ready to start whenever you are. Okay. Okay, so here we go. You ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am happy you're with me today. This is an adults-only show today. So if you have children in the car or wherever you're listening, you might want to shut it off right now because unless you want your children to learn this. We're talking about habits that hurt your love life. So again, I just got to give you the warning that's what we're going to talk about today. So it's going to be some intimate things we'll talk about. So let's jump right in because romantic function, sexual function is a barometer of your overall health. Many times we don't think about this. Now, if you listen to TV and radio, there's commercials everywhere. We have little blue pills, we have injections, we have treatments to help you perform in the bedroom for men and women, and it's wonderful. Well, all those might cover up the symptoms, but they don't fix the cause. And that can be really dangerous if you don't get to the cause. Because if you ever spoke to somebody who works in an emergency room, they all have stories of little blue pill incidences where men will take this little blue pill and suddenly they get aroused and they can't get unaroused. And that's really dangerous because you need blood flow going into an organ, you need blood flow coming out of the organ. And if blood flow can't come out, you can get something called necrosis. That's death of the tissue. So it's a pretty serious situation. So I know we joke about it. Guys laugh. Oh, erection lasting more than 4 hours. That's a scheduling problem. These are real serious issues. And we have to look at this as a canary in a coal mine. Are we not able to perform or not enjoying romance? There can be something wrong. So a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, you have control over. And we'll talk about some options as well as to what to do. So we'll jump right in. If you eat a lot of junk food, if you eat a lot of alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, you're filling your body with lots of refined carbohydrates, simple sugars, saturated fats, trans fats, and this can slow blood flow. So when it comes to romance, one of the keys here is blood flow. You have to have good circulation. And that can, of course, affect your performance. So I want you to think about this. Is it worth it? Next time you want to go out for a steak and you want to have some wine and you want to have some cheesecake, typical romantic dinner, right? Lobster and steak and cheesecake and coffee and wine and maybe a couple of drinks. That's the worst thing from a food standpoint you can do for your romance. And yet, for some reason, we consider that a romantic dinner. For years, I've given a lecture on, I kind of go through a dinner. You're going to have steak and potatoes and lobster and wine. And I go through each one of the ingredients and say why it's so bad for you. So just understand, if you're eating the typical American diet, it's going to affect your love life. So now suddenly we start having romantic issues. We start taking little blue pills. We start doing injections. And we have some real serious issues. Now, we have a protocol we've put together in our office for naturally trying to get circulation back into the organs and get it functioning. And it consists of something called acoustic wave therapy, which is a machine that it sends really fast impulses into the organ, and it causes the organ to grow new blood vessels, which is really important. Then we talk about nitric oxide, a supplement that if you have low blood pressure, don't take it. But if you have higher normal blood pressure, Nitric oxide does wonders for most people. And I take it every day. I have normal blood pressure, but I just love that it increases the circulation to my brain, my sex organs, my liver, my spleen, my kidneys. And so nitric oxide is a key. And as we get older, our nitric oxide production drops. And then we have home therapies. Now, home therapies are really important. Had a patient come in the other day, and he was he knew his way around the world, and he was a worldly man, and he didn't know how to mention that he had these problems. And I said, it's not a problem. It's something that naturally comes with aging, but there are things we can do to fight that. And I told him, he says, well, I had those injections in the past, and they worked pretty well, but it kind of wore off. Okay, good. I said, you got to do the injection. You can do the acoustic wave. You can do the nitric oxide. You can do the home therapy, which is a pump. And what the pump does is you put your organ in the pump, and it creates a suction, and it pulls blood into the organ. And in that process, it causes the body to fill up with blood and can grow new blood vessels. Then you release the pressure, pump it up again, release the pressure. And you do that 3 or 4 times a day, 2-3 days a week if you want. You can do it every day if you want to. And that does wonders. It's like exercise. Because if I want to build up my bicep, I have to strain it, okay, and build up new muscle. And that's what this does. It essentially exercises the male organ. And well, they talked about that. I don't need that crap. I said, okay, well, it's really important you do your home therapies. Oh, well, I didn't know that. They didn't explain that to me. I said, well, that's what I'm trying to do here. So the results we're getting naturally is great. Then we check the nerve supply in the low back, because that's the nerve supply to the colon, sex organs, and bladder. And with that protocol, then we get you on a good diet, of course, too. In that protocol, we're seeing great results in almost everyone. Some people, there's so much damage, it may not work. But check the nerve supply, nitric oxide, good diet, home therapies, and then the acoustic wave therapy. And men are coming back just saying, wow, I've even tried the little blue pills. I've tried injections. Nothing was working. And one of the reasons 50% of little blue pill people don't work is because you need nitric oxide to open up the blood vessels to increase circulation. So you can take little blue pills all day. If you don't have the raw materials to make it work, it's not going to work. And so when it comes to diet, you have to really think to yourself, is this worth it? Am I okay drinking alcohol, which lowers your testosterone, by the way, does a lot of things. Am I okay drinking this alcohol, or would I rather have romance back in my life? And I think for most men especially, you would say, I could skip that beer. And that's why when patients come in, we do a nutrition workup on everybody. So your diet has a lot to do with sexual performance. Now, if you can't function men and women normally, it could be a sign that there's a cardiac issue, a heart issue. You're not pumping blood properly. You may have hardening of the arteries. The blood vessels in the sex organs, men and women, are very, very, very small. So if you eat a bad diet, you eat alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas all the time, and you start getting plaque buildup in those little arteries, you can't get blood supply. Can't get blood supply, it don't work. And you can take blue pills, and you can do injections. You got to clean out the blood vessels. And blood vessel clogging, I never say 100% of anything, but mostly caused by diet and mostly correctable by diet. I had a patient the other day, and a young girl, and she's saying her and her husband want to start trying to have a baby in about 3 months. And I looked, gosh, she was probably in her early 20s. She had plaque building up in her arteries already. And I showed it to her, and she was shocked. And I said, how's your diet been for the past couple of years? She goes, horrible. I said, so what's more important to you, a healthy baby or eating bad food? She goes, a healthy baby, of course. What do I got to do to clean out those arteries? Oh, my God. I love when patients say that. What do I got to do to fix this pinched nerve? What do I got to do to clean out my arteries? What do I got to do to lose weight? I'll tell you. You just got to do it. And in most cases, it works. So when it comes to sexual function, in most cases, what we say works. So you got to decide what your diet is like. How about salt? Maybe you eat too much salt. That can raise your blood pressure, and that can become an issue. And that can also decrease your libido. So you want to steer clear of prepackaged foods. They oftentimes contain sodium, which is not good for you. You can add herbs, you can add spices, you can add ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, garlic, so many different spices, different peppers. All of those are actually good for your love life as opposed to bad for your love life. Now, if you're going to use salt, Celtic salt only. Now, Himalayan salt is also good, but it depends where it comes from. Some Himalayan salt actually has heavy metals mixed in, because when it's mined, they don't mine just the center of the salt vein, they call it. They get some dirt from the surrounding area. So Himalayan salt runs slight risk of being contaminated, but the Celtic salt is always a good choice. And we talked about that the other day with Celtic salt. And so if you're going to use salt, Celtic only. Another thing that'll ruin your love life is you're just too busy. And we all go through periods of our lives where we're just like crazy. And you kind of look at romance as a to-do list. And let me tell you, that's not much can be less romantic than having to, meet with your partner for romance. As an obligation, really emotionally destroys both partners. So what you want to do, you might want to consider scheduling. And I know therapists say this all the time, and it might think of it as a buzzkill, but you might say Tuesday, 8 o'clock, whatever, that's romance night. So mark it on your calendars and stick to it. You're going to feel more connected, and that can certainly help performance as well as intimacy. And try it. And the other thing that happens with that is you start anticipating. And a lot of romance is more mental, especially it seems to be for women more so than men, but the mental aspect of it. So if you're preparing, oh my gosh, this is exciting. I have a date tonight. It adds anticipation, which releases endorphins in your brain. Endorphins are pleasure chemicals, neurotransmitters in the brain. And so you start getting high from it too, which is kind of fun as well. Other things, if just tuning in, folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking about habits that hurt your sex life. Again, it's an adult show today, so if you have kids listening, it's up to you if you want to listen or not. You dish your body. It makes a big difference how confident you feel. Now, at different times in our lives, most of us have had a little more confidence, a little less confidence. That's okay. So your self-image takes a hit, and that certainly can affect your love life. So by taking care of yourself, you have a better self-image. Now, you may want to consider turning the lights out. You might want to consider talking to your partner about this. Does it bother you? Yeah, it does, as a matter of fact. I don't like the fact that you're so overweight. And if you're overweight, fat produces something called estrogen. Estrogen causes you to lay down fat. So when you're fat, your body produces a lot of chemicals that make you stay fat. So when you start to lose weight, you drop your estrogen levels, men and women, and then you start to lose weight even more. So you kind of get on a roll. Then you'll hit a plateau when it comes to weight loss. That's okay. And then we have protocols I can recommend for you to kick it into this next level of losing weight. So losing weight is really important. You'll feel better about yourself, but chemically, hormonally, it changes as well. So just be careful about that. And also be careful what you say about your own body. If you keep saying, I'm ugly, I have a big nose, I'm fat, I'm flabby, your brain starts to believe you. And it even lowers your self-esteem even further. So you may think it, just don't say it. And so that's a hard thing to deal with, but not saying it changes everything. And you could even give yourself positive reinforcement. Gosh, I still look so good for my age. I'm still young. I'm glad that someone's attracted to me. And these positive reinforcements can reset the brain as well. So there's a lot to be said about positive reinforcement from yourself. Got to do it yourself there. All right, another thing that can ruin your love life is you drink too much alcohol. Now, this is really important that you understand this. Because one glass of wine or beer, you might think you're relaxing. But if you drink a lot, it can really make you crash and burn when it comes to the bedroom. Men in particular struggle with performance issues when they've had too much alcohol in their system. And one of the reasons is alcohol lowers testosterone. So let's talk about that for a second, because this is really, really important. If we think about a romantic evening, or you're just thinking about you hanging out with your babe, or your guy, or whatever you're hanging out with, and I'm going to have a couple of drinks. I get a little drunk, I get a little tipsy, I get a little thinking that I'm sexy. I certainly dance better when I'm drunk. And you start thinking to yourself, I'm getting real romantic, and this is going to break the ice, and I'm going to get lucky. Alcohol lowers testosterone level, which is the sex drive hormone for both men and women. Keep your drinking to the moderation, or better yet, just cut out the booze altogether. Because again, you have to ask yourself some questions. What's more important? Sexual performance, sexual pleasure, or I want to have a couple of beers? If the beers are more important, that's okay. It's your call. But understand the consequences related to that. And this is so important because so many people on a regular basis drink and then think romance is going to be part of the game. Well, even if it is, and when you're young, you can override some of these things. Your testosterone levels are high, your sex drive, your libido is high, and you can override the fact that you might be a little loaded, that you're dehydrated, that you don't have enough nutrients, that you have pinched nerves. But as you get older, it becomes a very serious issue. And I've known many people my age, men and women, that have just given up on romance. Well, I can't perform anymore, so I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I can pop a little blue pill every now and then. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But really, at this point in my life, I don't care. The reason I want you to care is that lack of performance capability is an indication of a health issue. Something's wrong. And to ignore it, you're ignoring whatever that cause is. And again, I've said this so many times to you guys. I don't want to treat your symptoms. I want to treat the cause of your symptoms. And so blood pressure issues, stress, dehydration, lack of nutrients, lack of blood flow, lack of nerve flow, all these things can contribute to romantic dysfunction. But the romantic dysfunction is not the problem. And I have a friend of mine who drank a lot all through his years. I'm fine. Then he started confessing to me he was taking little blue pills, and his wife was not happy with it because his wife wanted romance and he couldn't provide that. So basically she gave up on it, and now they just drink a lot together. Well, that's your call. That's how you want to run a relationship, but it's not about the relationship because now suddenly liver enzymes are high, osteoporosis is setting in, brain function is starting to slip, memory is starting to slip. He's not old. He's only in his very early 60s. And so we're seeing the consequences. You can't abuse your body and not have to pay the price. You can't drink alcohol on a regular basis and expect it not to be a problem. You can't smoke pot on a regular basis and expect it not to be a problem. You can't smoke cigarettes without it being a problem. These are serious issues. And you can do it. I used to have a professor who used to say it's never a problem until it's a problem. And then it's a problem. And that's so true. It's not a problem when you're 19 to have a couple of beers. Maybe 30 is. When you're suddenly 40 and 50, it's going to get you. It has to. It can't not get you. So if you're drinking too much, that becomes a problem. So think about why you're drinking. Why do you drink so much? It's one of what I call my 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Are you drinking to relax? Are you drinking to socialize? Are you drinking to forget? Are you drinking to beat the boredom? Decide what your drinking is and then figure out what it is. If you have a drinking problem, do something about it, because now it's not just your life that's being affected, it's other people's lives. If you're out driving and I'm on a road with you, now suddenly my life is endangered. And please be smart. If you do drink, please take a car service. Please don't drive. I've lost friends to drunk drivers. I've had patients constantly come in from got hit by drunk drivers. So it's not just you, it's everybody. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about habits that hurt your sex life. Things that you're doing every day, and don't worry, we've got answers for a lot of these, so it's kind of good. One of the things we talked about earlier was nerve supply. And when we treat people with ED, we do the acoustic wave therapy, we do home therapies, we do nitric oxide, and I mentioned something. We check the nerve supply from the low back that goes into the sex organs. So if you have low back pain, how many people have low back pain? Raise your hands. That's an indication that you're having some type of irritation of the nerves. Now, the kicker is that 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. So you could have a pinched nerve and not know it. So if you don't feel your testicles and your ovaries work, you don't feel them not work, so to speak. I mean, eventually you'll feel them not work. So if there's a sexual problem for men and women, it could be a pinched nerve in the low back affecting the function of the organs. And so that's why in our offices, we always check the nerve supply to all the organs. The heart, the lungs, the liver, the spleen, the prostate, the colon, the ovaries, whatever it is, there's 24 vertebrae in the spine. Any one of them can come out of place and pinch a nerve, and nerves control organs. How's that for a novel way to look at it? So we check that. So if you have a health condition, and let's talk about pain for a second: neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, sciatica, pain in your arms, your legs, your shoulders. Chiropractic care is the most effective, least expensive treatment for these conditions. Why wouldn't you do that? So if you'd like to make an appointment to come see us in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. I would love to be your doctor. Go to my website, drjoe.com, and let's set you up a time to come in. Let's check the nerve supply to all the organs. Let's do a nutrition workup on you. Let's talk about the foods that might be hurting not only your sex life, but your life in general. And then let's talk about maybe some supplementation. I know nitric oxide, I talked about that. Nitric oxide is one of my favorite supplements in the world. I take it every day. Increases circulation to your whole body. And if you have low blood pressure, don't take this. But normal or high blood pressure, I don't see a problem with it. And people with high blood pressure, I've seen a lot of them drop their blood pressure. I have men, especially as they get older, they'll take this and women, about an hour before romance. And they're like, oh my gosh, doc, I'm a kid again. Because it opens up the blood supply to the sex organs. So it has a lot of benefits to the nitric oxide, and it's my second favorite supplement. My top supplements are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. I mix them together. They taste great, and that's the minimum supplements I feel people should take every day. So if you take Super Greens and Essential Source every day, and then romance comes around, take a second dose. Take the nitric oxide. Take some B vitamins, and see if that helps. Sometimes that's all it takes. Then we can set up you a protocol to get do the acoustic wave therapy and the home therapies. And we want to get to the cause of your problems, not just treat the symptoms. So if you want to make an appointment, and by the way, you should, let's check your nervous system. Let's check your digestive system. Let's check your diet. Let's talk about supplementation if necessary. drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book it right online. Normally, the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, and your friends and family, we've reduced that initial visit to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I don't know anybody who's doing all of that anywhere at any price. But we want to be your doctors. We want to get you well and keep you well. Then after that, if more care is necessary, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about what your insurance covers. If you don't have insurance, that's fine. Many of our patients don't. It's still the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain in most cases. So drjoe.com. And if you're ever in a car accident, please, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. You will get scam phone calls starting the day you got in the accident. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. It's a felony for them calling you. Don't do it. Go to a doctor and a lawyer that you can trust. I'm more than happy to help you find doctors and lawyers. If you don't see us, I'm happy to help you find people I trust. You can trust them too. So drjoe.com, great source of information, the website. We have over 4,000 hours of content there, but you can also book an appointment. And then the supplements we're talking about, the Super Greens, the Essential Source, the nitric oxide, the B vitamins. We have men's hormone support, women's hormone support. In fact, it's on sale this month, women's hormone support, half price. These are the things, protocols we put together for our patients to try to get you well and keep you well. And that's why I want to be your doctor. So drjoe.com. So if you're just tuning in, what we're talking about today are habits that hurt your sex life. And we're almost out of time for this segment. In the next segment, we're going to talk about if you had COVID, how that can affect your sex life, and how the love hormone oxytocin can actually help heal heart tissue. When I went to school, we were taught that once the heart tissue was damaged, it was damaged forever. Oxytocin, the hormone that's released when you're romantic or sexual, and/or oxytocin is released, it can actually start to heal heart tissue in many cases. So there's a lot of research out there about romance, and not just the pleasure of it, but actually the medicinal benefits, the health benefits that go along with it. So again, if you're too busy, if you're eating too much salt, you're eating junk foods, and then you say, well, what do I eat? I hear that every day. So Dr. Joe, what can I eat? Go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in, so what can I eat in the search bar, or just what can I eat? And listen to me. I've talked for about 45 minutes. It's a little talk I did. And we talk about breakfast, lunches, dinner, snacks, traveling, raising kids, holidays, stocking, unstocking your pantry, shopping. So easy to eat well. And it's so much less expensive. You will save so much money by eating well. Not just in cash, in time lost, energy, work capabilities, romance, relationships. Relationship is healthy. What's one of the most stressful things we go through? Bad relationship, right? Keep the relationships healthy, not just with your lover, but with your friends, your business partners, the people you work with, people you go to church with. It's so much better to be healthy than it is to be sick. So much more fun, so much less expensive. The only downside of this is that the bad food tastes good. That's the only downside at all. So, all right, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, a lot more to cover. We're talking about habits that hurt your sex life. We're going to talk about what happens if you had COVID, long effects that the research is showing. And then we're going to talk about how romance can actually heal a heart. There's actual scientific research behind oxytocin and it doing physiological repair to the damages. If you want to make an appointment, go to my website, drjoe.com. I'd love to see you as a patient. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, nutrition issues, brain issues. I want to be your doctor. Follow me on social media, at Dr. Joe Esposito, at Dr. Joe Esposito. We post health tips every single day. You're going to get so much information just by following us. If you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. So if drjoe.com, Dr. Joe for the health of it on podcast, at Dr. Joe Esposito on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Folks, I want to be your doctor. Let's get you well and keep you well. Okay.
So right off the bat, some people with diabetes have ED, but some don't.
Yes.
What would be the reason?
It depends how much damage there is to the blood vessels. When sugar builds up in the endothelium, the inner lining of the blood vessels, the sugar is an acid. It can damage those blood vessels, and so you lose your elasticity. The blood vessels have to be able to expand and contract, and they can't expand to let blood flow in there. So it depends how much damage the sugar in the blood did. Now, if you have diabetes, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type the word diabetes in the search bar and listen to the show we did on diabetes. Many type 2 diabetics can reduce or eliminate their need for medication strictly through diet. Nobody ever taught you that before. I want to teach you that. And here's the beauty of it. Let's assume you do everything I say, and it doesn't work. So what? You ate well. But diabetes, many times we just have to get the insulin receptor sites more sensitive to insulin. You got to cut out all your vegetable oils. They're really not vegetable oils. They're seed oils. But canola, corn, soy, cottonseed, you just got to cut them out because they clog up the receptor site where insulin goes into the cell, and the cell then can't open up and let sugar in, so the sugar builds up in the blood. And you'll get all that on the diabetic show. And then also got to check the nerve supply. Sugar can affect the nerve, so chiropractically we want to open up the nerve supply. And then with the acoustic wave therapy, we can send impulses into the penis and cause the penis to start growing new blood vessels as well and break up scar tissue and hopefully clean out the blood vessels. So there's a lot of hope out there, which is good. What else?
Now, on that plaque, does clearing away of plaque in, say, the blood or the intestines, does something like that require a dedicated detox, or is it something that diet alone can?
Diet alone can do, yeah. It takes some time, but I've had a lot of patients where I see plaquing on their x-rays, something called phleboliths, which are calcification in the veins. And I put people on diets, and 6 months later, we take another x-ray, and sure enough, it's either gone or much better. My most amazing case was a woman I had. She was in her 80s, and the doctors pretty much said, you're done. You're dead. Your arteries are so clogged, a piece of this is going to break off, and you're going to die. And I love when patients come to me and say, I'm willing to do whatever you say because I know they're dedicated. And we got her on a good diet, and we came back 6 months later, took an x-ray, and probably 80% of the plaque was gone. So she went back to her medical doctor, and the medical doctor said, I don't know what you did. I've never seen this happen before. Just keep doing it. And I hear that every day. My doctor said, just keep doing it because I'm getting better. I said, good. Have your doctor send to patients here. Some do, some don't. So, yeah, the answer is yes. We can clean that out, hopefully.
Now, my own question, backing that up, what are some signs and symptoms that you are starting to deal with issues with plaque?
Problem is there's not a lot of signs and symptoms. 30% of all heart attacks, the first symptom is death. And a lot of times it's a piece of plaque that breaks off, blocks up the heart valve, circulatory system, and then you go into ischemia. You can't get circulation to the part of the heart and you die. If it goes to the brain, it's a stroke. So there really isn't a lot of symptoms, but when it comes to sex, men may be able to get an erection but not maintain an erection, or they may not be able to get the erection. And so those are signs that there's probably a circulatory issue or a neurological issue going on. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of signs of plaquing until it's many times too late. So.
And this was, I guess, a question to me. Yes, I'm back.
Oh, yes, Garrett's back. All right, anything else?
That is it for this segment.
All right, guys, you're awesome. All right, let's do part 2 now. Ready? Get my timer set up there. All right, here we go. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you stayed with me, welcome. If you're just joining us, welcome. Welcome back or welcome. What we're talking about today, adult themes. So if you have children in the room, you don't want them to hear this, time to shut this off. We're talking about habits that hurt your love life. Things that you're doing every single day. Now, in the first part of the show, we talked about certain foods. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Then we're going to talk about if you had COVID, how COVID is actually affecting your love life in a negative way in many cases. We'll talk about why we think that's happening. Long-term effects called long COVID. And then we're going to talk about how being in love and making love can actually help heal damaged heart tissue. Yes, there's actually hope out there, boys and girls. All right, other things that we talked about losing weight, but you got to watch your waistline. Shedding a few pounds can certainly boost your performance in bed, especially if you're a guy. One study found that men with a waist over 40 inches were more likely to have erectile dysfunction than those with slimmer stomachs. And there's a lot of reasons. Number one is if you have a big waistline, it could be that you're fat. If you have just a beer belly, that gut hanging down, that's usually a sign of what we call fat around the organs. And when you have fat around the organs, it can actually physically put pressure on the organs, the liver, the heart, spleen, colon, and that's not a good thing. So if you have just a beer belly, that's usually a sign many times the liver is clogged up. And the liver produces a lot of hormones, and it helps break down food and pass out waste products, absorb nutrients. So if you have that, that's a big problem. And also if you're fat, and I used to be fat, so I can say the F word. If you're fat, you certainly don't feel sexy. And you have to say, okay, I'd like to get my emotions tied in with my physiology so that my body works more efficiently. And so losing weight is really important. Fat cells convert testosterone into estrogen, and that can lower your sex drive and cause you to gain more weight as well because you get more estrogen. So what we recommend for our patients, we have something called the 21-day Jumpstart program when it comes to weight loss. And we put the patients on this 21-day program. And he's taking supplements, taking a fiber, eating food, plenty of food, but off this one list. And you do that for 21 days. And first or second day, usually a little challenging because you're not feeding your brain with all the junk food. And then by about the third day, you start to get this euphoric feeling. You start to feel amazing. And almost everyone I've ever put on a 21-day Jumpstart protocol says, can I keep doing this? Can I continue? Now, we've had people that were morbidly obese, smokers, drinkers, drug addicts, and they'll say, can I keep doing this? I never felt so good in my whole life. So now suddenly it's not about weight loss anymore. It's about how good you feel, how great your body functions. And many, many patients have come back and said, my love life, doc, back on track. This is amazing. So if you're overweight, we need to get that weight off you. And that's why I like to do the Jumpstart program. And then you actually reset your brain so that you can continue doing this in the future, which is kind of fun too. Because I don't want you to do it for 21 days and then say, whoop, I'm done, and go back to the way it used to be. Don't bother. But it's really neat. And I love my job. I mean, I've been doing this almost 40 years now. And I just love watching people get better and the excitement in their eyes. Doc, I can move my arm again. Doc, my back pain is gone. Doc, my headaches are gone. Doc, my love life's back. I've lost weight. I feel better. I have more energy. I'm working harder. I'm making more money. I'm able to play with my kids again. I mean, it's nonstop feed all day about how great people are feeling. And now we can't help everyone. We can't guarantee results, but most cases, it's literally just a nonstop, attaboy. Nice work. So I like what I do. It's kind of fun. All right, so we're talking today about habits that hurt your sex life. If you smoke, I always joke when I give lectures. I say, if you smoke, you can pretty much ignore everything else I'm going to say. That's not true. You should do everything I say. But smoking is so hard, and it is so difficult to quit. I work with some people at the radio station that are heavy smokers, and many of them just resolve the fact that, well, I'm just going to die, and that's it. That's how addicting the smoking is. Isn't that crazy? And it's a drug. And so they make it on the patch, and they want to wean themselves off. But what I find when it comes to addiction, any addiction, is that the body is so depleted in nutrients. So when I give the body the nutrients that it needs, I give them Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, B vitamins, nitric oxide to increase circulation if you have normal or high blood pressure, not for people with low blood pressure. I put them on men's hormone support, women's hormone support, adrenal support, and we start to see the body start to work again. And they're able to get away from their addiction. Because again, the brain is just starved for nutrients, and it wants a quick fix. And a quick fix is sugar. Quick fix is drugs. Quick fix is cigarettes. And so if we can normalize and stabilize the brain, many times that is an essential part of getting over an addiction. And that's why a lot of therapists will send their patients to us, because they understand this. Hopefully they understand it. And they want to do everything they can to help them beat the addictions. So that's why it's so great. We work with the VA too, the Veterans Administration. We're on their list of doctors you can refer to. And so if you're a veteran and the VA sends you to us, they even pay for your bills. That's how important it is. Sometimes the doctors don't understand why you want to come. And so if you have a problem, you can send me an email and I can maybe give you some words to use. But yeah, we want to be your doctors. Again, I can't say that enough. There's approximately 600 ingredients in one cigarette. When burned, cigarettes create 7,000 chemicals. That's at least, and 69 of those are known to cause cancer, and many other ones are toxic, but not necessarily carcinogenic. So you're pumping a lot of chemicals into your body every time you take a puff. But one of the things that happens is cigarettes have something called free radicals. Now, free radicals are like Pac-Man. They attack things. And so it's attacking the blood vessels and literally eating away at the blood vessels, like acid pouring in the blood vessels. And it weakens the endothelium, the lining of the blood vessels, and so they can't expand and allow blood to flow through. And that becomes a big issue. The other thing, too, is when you irritate the blood vessels, the body lays down spackle on this irritated part of the blood vessel to prevent it from rupturing. And that spackle is also called plaque, cholesterol. Cholesterol builds up there. And so cleaning out the arteries is really a key for good circulation when it comes to sex, but it comes to brain function too. And one of the issues we actually finding now is people with too low cholesterol can have problems, especially with things like Alzheimer's, because your body uses cholesterol to build hormones, to build cell walls. So if cholesterol is too low, that's a problem too. You want to be in that Goldilocks zone, not too high, not too low. And that's almost always due to diet. 1 in 100 people have genetically high cholesterol. 99 out of 100 would probably benefit from dietary changes. And you can do it all the way, which is the way you should do it. You can do it partially. You really have to ask your question, is it worth it? How much is my health worth to me? Is it worth that piece of cake? Is it worth that steak? Is it worth the cigarette? If the answer is no, which it should be no, then hopefully I can help you. We can get the diet straightened out, get the nervous system straightened out, get your digestive straightened out, get you on things like Super Greens and Essential Source, which of course everybody I feel should be on, minimum supplements, nitric oxide, B complex, adrenal support, glutathione to clean out the liver if you've got that big beer belly. And just, it's so amazing when people get well. And I tell people this too. Let's assume that I suggest you do some dietary changes and you do everything I say and nothing happens. So what? You ate well for a couple of weeks. Save some money on food. But if I'm right, which I probably am, then you can go ahead and say, now I understand it. I never quite understood how amazing my life can be if I'm eating bad foods. So we talked about the nerve supply in the low back that controls the sex organs. We talked about the diet that can clog up the arteries and prevent the blood vessels from opening properly. We talked about supplements, things like Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide. Those are really all important. If you're stressed out, your body increases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is the anti-sex hormone. Okay? It hijacks your health, and it's really just going to tank your desire to have sex. So try to figure out what's stressing you out. Is it chemical stress, physical stress, emotional stress, and get to the cause of the stress. Now, we can't fix all your stresses, but we can get you healthier so that you're able to deal with the stresses more efficiently. I can't change the fact that you lost your job. I can't change the fact that your spouse left you. I can't change the fact that your mother passed away. But we can get you healthy so that you're able to deal with these stresses and then help bring down your cortisol. We can do a cortisol test for you, actually. We can even mail it to you if you want us to. And you can do a cortisol test to determine where your cortisol is. Now, cortisol should peak in the morning when you wake up and then drop off gradually throughout the day, and at night really drop so you can go to sleep. And then that's a normal cycle. So we can do a whole hormone. We can do just a cortisol test, or we can do a whole hormone panel. And this is what I recommend for men and women. It's called the Dutch test. And with the Dutch test, we can not only test your hormones, but we can test, are you breaking down the hormones? Are you passing them out? Do you have too much built up? And we can then say, where's the break in the chain? Okay? Sounds like a Fleetwood Mac song, The Chain. Find out where the break in the chain is, and then what we can do to hopefully fix it without drugs and surgery. Sometimes you need drugs and surgery, but oftentimes you don't. And I had a patient the other day come in, and he said, Dr. Joe, my doctor's talking about surgery for my low back. I said, what kind of surgery? He says, I don't know. Well, there's a lot of different things you can do on the low back. You can do a discectomy. You can do an intercept protocol. You can do a fusion. You can do a cage in there. So there's a lot of different types of surgeries. If you need surgery, am I getting the best one for me? And sometimes, your doctor might be an expert in discectomy. Well, that's all you're going to get. Somebody might not even know what the intercept procedure is. Well, maybe you need the intercept procedure. And so we try to focus the best treatment for the patient, even if it's not in our office. What's going to be the best treatment for you? And people don't know to ask these questions. You don't even know they exist. That's why I want to be your doctor. So if you want to make an appointment to come see us in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, just go to drjoe.com and book an appointment. We try to get to the cause of your problem. Normally the first visit is $940. I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment on the follow-up visit, going over your x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. We accept people with all insurances. It depends if your insurance covers. If it's in-network, out-of-network, if it covers it all. But either way, I'm begging you, please don't let your insurance company dictate your life. And so many people do that. Well, I know I need this procedure, chiropractic, medical, whatever, but my insurance doesn't cover it. So what? You need the procedure. Well, it's expensive. Okay, so is dying. That's real expensive. I'd rather you be alive to make money to pay your bills. And so if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com, just do it. Stop suffering needlessly. Every day, patients come in and say, why didn't I do this sooner? And my answer is, I don't know. So if you have physical stress, many times it's a pinched nerve, it's a muscle imbalance, it's a nutritional imbalance, let's work on that. Chemical stress is basically the same thing. Emotional stresses, that's a little harder to fix because I can't control your emotional life. But if I can get your brain working better and your diet straightened out and your pain to go away, you're able to deal with the emotional stress more effectively. I'm fighting, and I'll fight to my grave, saying, why is this not the primary portal of entry for healthcare? Get the nervous system working, get the digestive system working, get your diet straightened out. If that doesn't work, rarely doesn't it work, but it may, then we can go to more aggressive treatments. But so many people go right to the end game, go to medications, go to surgery. Again, sometimes necessary, but let's see if there's an alternative to that. And many times there is. So drjoe.com. Other things, if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking about habits that hurt your sex life. It's important to have conversations, to talk to your partner. And that's a very tough thing to do because it's awkward. And I don't want to get them mad. And I don't want them to leave. And I don't want them to get mad at me. And I don't want to start yelling at me. And so you just brush it off. Not a good idea. If you need help, I suggest counseling. I'm not a counselor, but I think counseling is extremely important in everyone's life. I think everyone should have a counselor. We're never taught how to have relationships, how to make money, and how to stay healthy. Those are the three things we're never really taught in school, and I believe those are the most important things that should be taught in school. So going to counseling, I have no problem with that. I think it's a great idea. Okay. Other things you can do, you've got to make sure you're getting enough sleep. One study found that women who got more sleep tend to have more and better sex. So sleep is really important. So some things you can do before I jump into long COVID. What can you do? Of course, go to my website, drjoe.com, type in "So What Can I Eat?" and listen to that. You can also listen to a lecture I did called The 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition. And there we talk about what not to eat. And I give you rationale behind it too. Supplement-wise, Super Greens, essential source, estrogen regulator, which is important especially for men. Our testosterone goes in a fat cell, comes out as estrogen. So the more fat you have, the more of this cycle going on. And there's something called an aromatase inhibitor. Aromatase inhibitor inhibits the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. And so there's drugs for that, but something as simple as cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower. The cruciferous vegetables have diindolylmethane in it, and diindolylmethane prevents testosterone from converting into estrogen. We have a supplement that does that. It's called estrogen regulator. It's really for men. Women, if you're perimenopausal or menopausal, don't take it. It's not for you. Only women of active childbearing years and men should take estrogen regulator. And I love it because it really helps keep my testosterone levels high from preventing them from converting into estrogen. We talked about the acoustic wave therapy earlier. It's a therapy we have for erectile dysfunction, and you come to the office. It's usually about 6 treatments, maybe 8 treatments, and you send sound impulses into the organ, breaks up scar tissue, and can cause the body to grow new blood vessels. Then we get you on nitric oxide to increase circulation to the area as long as you don't have low blood pressure. Then we check the nerve supply in the low back that controls the sex organs. And then we give you a home pump to use at home. And this is so important because it exercises the tissue, it exercises the muscle, and not only for function, for length, not only for hardness, but also for girth. It actually can increase the size. So that's really important too. But you really want to have coaching on how to use it. You don't want to use it every day too often. If you do, you only want to use 2 or 3 pump and release. So there's things you can do at home that work really well to get the organs working again and exercise. So that's so important. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about habits that can destroy your love life. Now, COVID is not a habit, but research continue to learn more about this long COVID. I just did a show on it the other day. And now we're looking to the link between the viruses and erectile dysfunction. And when a person is having a rough time functioning sexually, it could be due to the virus. So what do you think is causing it? Cardiovascular problems. ED, erectile dysfunction, is an early sign of heart disease. So again, if you have ED, it could be a sign that your heart isn't working. Research also shows that COVID-19 can affect heart health, and that's because it can lead to inflammation in various parts of the body, especially the heart and the blood vessels and the veins nearby. And this is why many times researchers are now believing, and again, the research is still ongoing, why some people are dropping dead, young athletes dropping dead of pericarditis, because the virus got into the blood vessels. It can be linked to endothelial dysfunction. The virus itself can attack the inner lining of the blood vessels and preventing from expanding and contracting. So that can be an issue. Mental issues. Stress, anxiety, depression can certainly be related to men and women when it comes to romance. And just poor overall health. If you don't have good health, you're more likely to get a virus, any virus, and that can affect overall health, can affect the increase of getting things like COVID and other diseases, but it can also show that there's an increased link to your general health as well. So the virus, people that have been infected with the virus are more than 5 times more likely to develop erectile dysfunction. And in another study, researchers took tissue samples from 2 men who'd been infected, only 2 men. One had severe symptoms, other mild when it came to ED. The samples were taken before or after men had surgery for the symptoms, and the scientists found that COVID-19 viral particles and endothelial dysfunction, the inner lining of the blood vessels, were in the men as well. Again, only 2 men, not a real good study, but it certainly is something you can think about. So ED as a side effect of COVID can be short-term or long-term. Experts aren't sure that these complications can lead to issues in infertility, but it certainly could be function as well. And so that's why if you do have ED, you got to start thinking, why? This is a very novel approach to look at things. And I did promise you this, I'm almost out of time here. The love hormone, oxytocin, might help heal your heart. So one of the most common types of heart disease is coronary artery disease. And that occurs when plaque builds up inside the blood vessels that supply the heart. We talked about that with hardening the arteries and bad fats and diabetes, and all that can lead to hardening of the arteries. When the heart does not receive blood and oxygen, the person may experience a potentially life-threatening heart attack called a myocardial infarction. You're just not getting oxygen to the heart cells. So historically, scientists believed that heart cells called cardiomyocytes could not ever regenerate. Once they were dead forever. This meant that any heart cells in a person lost during a heart attack would remain that way forever. However, previous research shows heart cells may be able to regenerate. And this is actually exciting news. Now the research teams from Michigan State University, they present evidence that a hormone called oxytocin may help stimulate regeneration of the heart cells. Researchers believe this may one day help restore heart muscle in people. So oxytocin is a naturally occurring hormone. It's produced in the hypothalamus part of the brain. The hormone is usually associated with functions of female reproductive systems. For example, when a woman has an orgasm, she releases oxytocin. When a woman breastfeeds, she releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is the bonding neurotransmitter. When it's released, you bond to the person that's helping you release the oxytocin. And I remember years ago talking to a woman, and she said, I met this guy, asked me on a couple of dates, and she goes, I went, but I told him we can't go any further. And she said, why? She goes, well, you're not the type of guy that I'm looking for in my life. And if we have sex and I release oxytocin, I'm going to go down that pathway. I'm going to start liking you more and more and more. She goes, and I don't want to do that because objectively, you're not the kind of guy for me. But physiologically, if oxytocin is released, well, she may make bad decisions. So I thought, wow, what an insight. Looking at picking a partner from a physiological standpoint, because oxytocin is the bonding neurotransmitter. But you find it when you have pleasurable experiences, such as meditation, yoga, sexual intimacy, and even cooking, sharing a meal with somebody, being charitable, performing acts of kindness, engaging in forms of touch, such as hugging, kissing, massage. This can all release oxytocin into the body. And that's why women, when they breastfeed, sometimes I've had women come to me and say, Doc, I'm starting to feel a little stimulated when I breastfeed. That's weird. It's my kid. I said, there's a link between the breast and the uterus can start contracting when oxytocin is released, when it's stimulated. And some women can actually reach orgasm just by having their breast stimulated. That's because of that oxytocin release, because oxytocin is the hormone that causes the orgasm to occur. So our educated guess, based on what's known about central control of critical processes in the body, potential neuroendocrine pathways controlled by the brain can release oxytocin that can heal the heart. So if you've had a heart attack, if you've had issues, you want to start thinking, I got to start doing pleasurable things in my life, romance being one of them. But like I said, yoga, charity, contributing to people, playing with children, playing with animals, bonding, hugging, kissing. These things release that oxytocin, and that can actually repair heart cells. So how does this tie into the topic today? Habits that hurt your sex life. Well, if you're eating a bad diet, if you have pinched nerves, if you have clogged arteries, if you're just getting weak, the muscles are being used like it used to, if you don't have good circulation, you're eating foods that don't increase the nitric oxide levels in your body, you may not be able to perform sexually, men and women. And so now you may not be able to release that oxytocin, aside from other things you can do, and that can prevent the heart from healing. So as the Bee Gees song said, how do you mend a broken heart? Now we know, oxytocin. And sex is a really good way for men and women to release that oxytocin. So if we can get that happening in our bodies, it's good for our heart. Isn't that cool? So if you're just tuning in, what we talked about today, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, we talked about habits that can destroy your love life. We talked about diet. We talked about not getting enough circulation to the body. We talked about supplements that might help. Things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, nitric oxide, women's hormone support. These are all on the website, drjoe.com. Glutathione to clean out the liver, losing weight. So there's a lot of things that you can do proactively aside from just taking a little blue pill and saying, well, it didn't work. 50% of the time it doesn't work. So if you have a health issue, not just about sex, but about anything, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, sciatica, make an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. It's drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Normally, the first visit is $940. I've reduced that for you, my listeners, to $299. So let's get to the cause of your healthcare problem, not just treat the symptoms. Follow me on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. And the website, again, drjoe.com. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Man, that was fast. What do you got?
All right, what would be, let's see, what is the optimum or optimal cholesterol range?
Well, it used to be 300, now it's 200. And I have a concern with that. Because we need cholesterol to build up hormones. So if 200 is normal, I don't get too concerned about my patients being a few points, or even 10, 20 points over 200. If the cholesterol is high, I always want to find out why. 1 in 100 people have genetically high cholesterol. 99 out of 100 can change it with the diet. And so personally, I'm okay with 230, 240. Most doctors freak out and put you on cholesterol-lowering medications. We do know that taking statin drugs can increase your risk of Alzheimer's disease. So again, I'm not a medical doctor. I cannot tell you to take drugs or not take drugs. but I can tell you my personal opinion and my personal experiences. So, what else?
What could someone do that had a stroke to get back the movement on the left side?
Okay, there's your brain has this amazing capability, and it's called plasticity. Now, when I went to school, I was taught when heart muscle's dead, they're dead forever. When brain cells are dead, they're dead forever. It's not true. Your brain can rewire itself around a damaged part of the brain. So if you have a stroke symptoms on your left side, the stroke, of course, is on the right side of the brain. It crosses over. And so we have exercises and adjustments that we can do to stimulate the right side of the brain and try to get the body to regrow around the damaged area. I'm not saying I have a cure for stroke patients, but then we have to find out, why did you have the stroke? Did a piece of plaque break off and go up into the brain and clog up an artery, or did an artery burst? And then we got to do a dietary workup to clean out those arteries. Can't promise anything, but it usually works. And if we can clean out the arteries and then do certain adjustments to stimulate the right side of the brain, left side of the cerebellum, right side of the cerebrum, many times we start to see some really cool results. So you might want to come, you should come see us for a better protocol for that. What else?
How often does cholesterol in the arteries turn into plaque?
Not always. I mean, we all have cholesterol in our arteries. So why isn't it plaquing? It usually happens when you damage the endothelial lining, the inner side of the blood vessels. And you do that with a bad diet. Cigarette smoke, bad food, sugars. It creates an acid, real simply put. And the acid essentially irritates the blood vessel wall, so the body lays down cholesterol as a plaque, a scab, so that the artery doesn't burst open because it's a weak spot. So changing the diet is what usually cleans out the arteries. And we all have cholesterol. It's good. You're supposed to have it. Why does it stick? Damage to the arteries. What else?
On lacking in the education department, Susan pointed out that something that we don't really teach that we probably should is how to take care of our parents.
That is true too. Number 4 thing we should learn about. There's a Moody Blues song, and a line from the song is, "And I'm frightened for your children." And I'm frightened for our children. More so, I'm frightened for my generation, who have their children have to take care of us. Because the younger generation, I don't know if you run a business or you ever know about it, not really excited about working. Not really excited about working a 40-hour work week, that's for sure. And I wish we would teach people how to take care of their parents. And it's one of the reasons, I'll just open up my heart to you, one of the reasons I take such good care of myself. I don't want to have to rely on somebody else to take care of me. It's not my personality. And I think it would devastate me if I had somebody have to take care of me and they didn't do it. And that's what I'm afraid of. So one of the real reasons I take care of myself is I don't want to become reliant on anyone else. Now, there'll come a time where I'll have to be, but I don't want that to happen anytime soon. Oldest person in the world, their birthday is today, 116 years old. So we can live long lives. We just have to take care of ourselves. What else?
That was my big point to my dad, actually. Not 3 days ago, he was pointing out all his plans for the family business. And I was like, yeah, no. You got 10 more good years. In those 10 years, we're buying some property because I'm not going to pay to take care of you. You've had 60 years,
right?
Almost 60 years working to figure it out. We got 10 more.
Yes.
We're going to figure it out.
Yep, and that's it. And you should be able to take that aggressive role, and hopefully your parent is open to it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else?
Does lifting weights increase testosterone?
Yes.
Really?
That's it. Yeah. Lifting weights increase testosterone. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, is that would HIIT training be lower revolution?
Yeah, high intensity interval training really seems to work the best. And what that is you go as hard as you can for about 20 or 30 seconds, and then you rest for about a minute or two, and then you go another hard as you can for 20 or 30 seconds. You do that 8 times. That's high intensity interval training, and that seems to boost testosterone the best. Now, that being said, I've had people take anabolic steroids to build muscle mass, and taking steroids, and that destroys your testicles and your sex drive. When you first start taking it, you become sexually insatiable, which is actually dangerous, and then suddenly your testicles start to shrink, and you're reliant on these outside hormones, and your sex drive just goes to hell. So you look good, but you can't do a damn thing about it. So, what else?
Does the need for estrogen regulation in men depend at all on body fat percentage, since fat converts the testosterone into
No.
estrogen.
No, because you can do exogenous estrogens. It means from an outside source. You can get it from meats and dairy products. You can get estrogen there. You can get it from xenoestrogens, foreign estrogens, such as hairspray, cologne, air fresheners, any artificial smell, new car smell, paint, new flooring. All these things are called xenoestrogens or foreign estrogens, and they can actually affect the estrogen levels as well. So not only do you want to raise your testosterone, you want to lower your estrogen, your xenoestrogens.
If someone were to come to you on a low dose of a statin and make progress through supplementations and whatever programs we put them on, is it advisable to get off the statin?
Only your doctor can make that decision for you or you. I can't make that decision for you. What we usually do, and we do this every day, we get people healthy enough so they don't need the drugs. And they go back to their doctors or they decide on their own, I'm not going to do this anymore. And every single time the doctor says the same thing. I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. And so, yeah, I can't take you off the drugs. I can get you healthy enough you don't need them, hopefully.
My mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law is a perfect example.
Yeah, she is. She's after like 2 years now. She is completely off the statins.
There you go. It's a woman I've never even met. And yet, we've changed her life. We've changed Garrett's life, his wife's life. If they have children, the grandma's going to be around, hopefully, to take care of the kids. Think how far-reaching that is. And she's saving a ton of money.
And she is a great grandmother this past year.
Oh, she's even a great grandmother. How cool is that? So I want her around, this woman I never met. I want her around to take care of her grandkids and her great-grandkids. Because that's so important to me that the family, I'm a big family, I come from a big Italian family, that the family is there and they raise the child together. It does take a village to raise a child. I agree with that.
Can neck and shoulder pain cause quick headaches?
Yes, absolutely. Number one cause of headaches, actually, is pinched nerves in the neck. So, yeah. Chiropractic care, baby. Come see us.
Now, back on the show topic, as far as oxytocin is concerned with sex, what determines how frequent sex should be for sex-based oxytocin distribution?
Everybody's different. I mean, there is no, yes, 3 times a week is going to raise the oxytocin level. And I've never seen a study like it. Maybe there is. I don't know that. But everybody's different. Some people enjoy sex every day. Some people enjoy sex once a week, twice a week. It really depends on your tolerance. But one thing we do know that the more sex you have, the more sex you're probably going to have. Because it's like anything else. You build up, you like it, and you want to keep doing it. So.
And a great tip for the married people that I just learned, try having each partner initiate once a week.
That's an amazing tip. And Garrett, I agree with you 100% because all of us want to feel special. And if you're constantly the one initiating, that's exhausting. And if you're constantly the one receiving it, well, then you feel like maybe it's just my burden. It's my job. So I like that idea. That's a great tip, actually. Good job. All right, what else?
That's all for today.
You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. I know today was an adult topic, so I appreciate you spending some time with me today. But again, it's not just about sex. It's about what it means if you can't have sex. Something's up usually. So any questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. And follow me on all the platforms at Dr. Joe Esposito. I'll see you next week.